Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Energy Development Corporation earnings call on its 1Q 2015 financial and operating results. I will now turn over the call to Mr. Boy Brazil, Head of Energy Development Corporation's Investor Relations. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, yes, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Energy Development Corporation's conference call to discuss its financial and operating results for the period ending March 31, 2015. As a reminder, this financial and operating results presentation will be posted in the Investor Relations page of the company's website shortly. We have likewise subscribed to a playback of this call for 5 days starting May 18 to May 22 from our service provider. The corresponding passcodes will be made available upon request by all concerned from EDC Investor Relations Corporation. I will now turn over the floor to Erwin Avante, who will discuss the review of the first quarter financial results.
Thank you, Boy. Looking at slide 5, there were 3 major factors that affected the company's first quarter 2015 financial results. The first one is the 3-unit operations of Bacman. Recall that during the same period last year, there were only 2 units operating. These are units 1 and 3. Unit 2 only started operating in June of 2014 after the completion of its interim fixed solution. This resulted to a higher reported revenues from Bacman amounting to about 500 million pesos for the first quarter of 2015. The second factor is the operations of the Nasulo power plant. This is the plant that we transferred from the northern part of the Negros Island to the southern part of the island, yielding an incremental megawatts of approximately 20 megawatts. They started commercial operations last July 21, 2014, and therefore for the Q1 2015, it contributed fresh revenues of about 0.4 billion. The third factor is the operations of our wind farm, Burgos Wind. Recall that Burgos also started only last November 2014. For the first quarter of 2015, it generated revenues of about 0.3 billion. But for the first quarter, reported a net loss of about 0.2 billion. And this is mainly brought by depreciation expenses and interest expenses on the loans. Recall that the output of Burgos, together with the other wind farms in Ilocos Norte, is presently curtailed due to the transmission constraints downstream from Lawag in Ilocos Norte to San Esteban in Ilocos Sur. On slide 6, this shows you the brief summary of our financials. Consolidated revenues increased by about 1.4 billion, about 19%, from 7.1 billion in 2014 to about 8.5 billion in 2015. And as mentioned in the previous slide, accounting for this increase were due to Bacman of about 0.5 billion, Nasulo of about 0.4 billion, and Burgos Wind of about 0.3 billion. Consolidated net income attributable to the equity holders of the parent stood at 2.5 billion in 2015, which is about 4% higher compared to the 2.4 billion in the same period last year. On a core income basis, we increased by about 14% compared to last year. Slide 7 is our discussion on the revenues, which increased by about 19%. First one is on Unified Leyte. It increased by about 2%, and this is because of the revenue contribution from the IPPA strips, which we won and took over last December 26. It amounted to about 359 million pesos of additional revenues. If we exclude the revenues from Leyte, from the IPPA strips, the Unified Leyte revenues decreased, mainly on the account of lower sales volume by about 11%, from 845 gigawatt hours to about 742 gigawatt hours. It went down because of the strips, that is accounted for separately. but this was partially offset by higher average tariff of the unified data plans from 3.12 pesos per kilowatt hour to about 3.16 pesos per kilowatt hour. The second one, Pinantongonan, which constitute the GCGI plans, the revenue decreased by about 1% due to the lower sales volume. If you recall, no, the average tariff, we mentioned this during the last call, but the average tariff from the DUs decreased, no, due to the repricing of our contract. So we lowered the tariff, but we extended the maturities of our contract. And they went down on average from 4.984 pesos per kilowatt hour versus about 523 pesos per kilowatt hour. The average tariff on balance, no, including the WSM sales, meanwhile increased, no, from 495 to 5.06. Basically, what happened here is that in 2015 Q1, we were a net buyer from the WSM. And we've been able to buy at prices lower than what we've actually sold them. No? We bought some of the electricity at 4.04, but sold them at about 4.95 pesos per kilowatt hour. In effect, pushing our average price upward. No? But in the same period last year, we were actually net seller to the spot market, and our average selling price to the spot market at that time was only at about 283 pesos per kilowatt hour, causing a downward effect in our average tariff during the period last year. Number 3 is our hydro asset, FG Hydro. The revenues increased 23%, mainly due to the absence of the 250 million downward adjustment in the WSM that was directed upon the company by the ERC. But without the adjustment, the revenue of hydro for the period actually decreased, no, as compared to the same period last year because of a lower average tariff. The tariff decreased by about 9%, no, from 482 per kilowatt hour to 437 per kilowatt hour. This was partially offset by higher sales volume from 228 gigawatt hours to about 239 gigawatt hours, translating to about 54 million in increased revenues. No? Number 4 on the list is Bacman, and again, because of the 3-unit operations of Bacman, it reported higher revenue contribution. Average tariff also increased by 19.5%, no, from close to 4 pesos to about 4.76 pesos per kilowatt hour. And obviously, the sales volume of course increased, no, by about 76%. The fifth item is our Mindanao asset. They reported a slight decline of about 8 million pesos in revenues, mainly because of lower tariff, no, from 299 pesos per kilowatt hour to about 295 pesos per kilowatt hour. And then the last 3 ones are the new projects of the company. Nasulo and Burgos Wind contributed about 374 million and 253 million respectively, while Burgos Solar, which is our newest project that was commissioned last March 5, reported a revenue of about 0.84 million for the first quarter of this year. The next slide, slide 8, this talks about our operating expenses. So for the first quarter of 2015, it increased by about 21% or about 0.75 billion. And this is mainly brought about by higher depreciation expense because of the newly commissioned Burgos Wind project. We also had higher purchase services in Palimpinon for drilling, for workover drilling of existing wells and other surface equipment, and higher repairs and maintenance in our Leyte assets on account of greater number of workover wells as compared to the same period last year, and power plant rehab expenses. No? Going forward, we expect increased activities and our OPEX to increase, no, on a quarter-on-quarter basis. Slide 9 is about our recurring net income. So as you can see there, the recurring net income increased by about 0.3 billion or about 14%. And these are mainly due to Bacman contribution of about 0.52 billion, higher revenues from Nasulo considering that the plant commenced operations in July 2014, and it's only partially offset by higher depreciation expense. And then increased contribution from the hydro due to the absence of the downward adjustment in the WESM sales, no? And partially offset by higher provisions on income tax, no? But the increase was partially offset by the following, no? Burgos Wind, as mentioned, reported a net loss of 175 million, and this is mainly due to the curtailment, no, of energy because of the transmission line constraint downstream. Lower contribution also from Unified Leyte because of trading losses reported for the UL strips, and lower contributions from the GCGI assets Palintinon Tongonan because of the preservation, no, of Nasuhi plant to give way for the operations of Nasuhi. Slide 10 is about our cash balance. In terms of our cash flow, the cash generated from operations during the first quarter stood at about 6 billion. And then also in the same period, we raised money at the GCGI level, and the proceeds of this will be used to pay off the 8.5 billion peso bond maturity, which will mature this June 2015. The cash generated for the first quarter were used primarily for PPE acquisitions and other investments, amounting to about 3.7 billion. Mainly the bulk of this, about 2.2 billion, is spent on drilling, capex on the Burgos Wind, the remaining capex, and the solar project, and the rest were allotted for some of the remaining rehab works for the Bacman power plants and some hook-up pads. Meanwhile, about 0.6 billion was used for regular debt servicing and about 0.1 billion to pay cash dividends to shareholders. Slide 11, which is my last slide, talks about the balance sheet or the ratios of the company. So the current ratio was lower due to the reclassification of the 8.5 billion peso bond that will be paid off this June. Debt to equity also weakened due to higher debt from the Burgos Wind, which we closed late last year, and the GCGI loans, that was availed March of this year, again to address the bond maturity this June. Meanwhile, the net debt to EBITDA improved due to the higher annualized EBITDA for the company. So to talk about the growth and company updates moving forward, I'll turn you over to our President and COO, Mr. Ricky Pantoco.
Thank you, Erwin. If you would kindly turn to slide 13. We have a map of the Bacman concession. We expect to issue notice to proceed to our EPC contractor for 30 megawatt, the 30 megawatt Bacman 3 power plant within the third quarter of this year. In the same concession area, we continue to explore for geothermal resources and have in fact programmed a Bacman 4 and Bacman 5 expansion. Bacman 5 right now, we're calling it nominally a 40 megawatt expansion, but we will really know the size of the resource only after the exploratory wells are drilled. For Bacman 4, the resource is ready. The wells have been drilled, so it's a matter of ordering the equipment for that and putting the unit online. We're just awaiting the final results of the dual porosity geothermal resource model that we're running to determine the final size that's sustainable for Bacman 4. But notionally right now, we think that 17 megawatts is the right number. If you turn over to the next page, in terms of further geothermal energy development, another prospect we are working on is Mindanao 3, for the development of another 40 megawatts inside our existing Mount Apo geothermal concession. Again, we are just awaiting the results from the ongoing reservoir modeling, the dual porosity modeling, which is considered the cutting edge type of modeling for today's energy resources, before we go out and tender a power plant construction for the same time next year. And then over in the left side of the slide, you will see a list of concessions that we are working on in terms of permitting and initial exploratory studies. And then finally, just by way of update, as earlier mentioned to the market, we engaged a company in Chile called Terra Service for the drilling of the top holes and installation of the surface casing. We mentioned this during our last earnings call. I'm happy to report that we finished the surface casing drilling and installation work that we wanted done. The third well is ready to be drilled. We completed that last week. So the contracted drilling rig has been fully demobilized, and in the concession area it has begun to snow, and the Chilean winter is coming. So the balance of the preparatory works remain on track for a target spud date of the large drilling rigs starting October 15 of this year. This is our last slide, and I'll now turn over the floor to Boy Resho, who will be moderating the Q&A session.
Hello, operator. Can we now have questions from among those who have dialed in? Hello?
Yes, sir. Are you ready to take questions?
Yes.
Okay.
We're now ready to take questions.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now poll for questions. If you would like to register for a question, please press star 1 on your telephone. Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that is star 1 to register for a question. Thank you. Our first question comes from Krisha Bonda, Philippines Equity Partners in Philippines. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I would just like to ask if there's any update as to when the transmission issues on Burgos will be resolved.
The latest update we have right now from NGCP is that they expect the transmission line to be completed within the month of September.
Okay.
But for budgeting purposes internally, we're assuming that even that could slide a little bit. We have weekly coordination meetings with them. And in the last update meeting, they told us that they were going to be delayed a further 1 month. So they're now looking at September. It's important that we get the line completed. We exercise maximum due diligence if there's any way we can assist NGCP. And there are proposals on the table right now. Because the high wind season starts in November of next year. And between the months of November through to around March, late October through to around March, between 70 to 80% of the wind project energy is generated at that window. So we need to exercise best efforts to assist NGCP to get the work done.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Ajay Marchandani, JP Morgan in Singapore. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for the call, gentlemen. A couple of questions from me. The first one was I just wanted to get a sense on the capex you're targeting for both on a cumulative basis for this year and next year, if you could break that down. And secondly, I just wanted to also get a sense on the interest that you would be having for the upcoming IPPA bidding for Unified Leyte. I just wanted to get a sense, given the fact that you all won it last time around and then had to give it back, I'm assuming there would still continue to be interest on that. So if you could help me get it through on these two questions. Thanks.
Yeah, hi AJ. I'll take the first question. For 2015, the total budgeted capex is around 16 billion pesos. Of the 16 billion, about 55% of that will be pertaining to existing operations. So that's about 8.8 billion. And the balance is mainly for growth. When I say growth, that is for partly for Bachman 3 and some of the additional wells that we need to drill for Bachman 4, Bachman 5, Mindanao 3, as well as for the Mariposa or the Chile projects that we have now. For 2016, unfortunately, we still don't have a budget for that now, but I would suspect that, again, in addition to the recurring capex that we have for our maintenance replacement wells, that should constitute together with the remainder of the Bachman 3 EPC, as well as partial EPC for the Bachman 4 project when we issue the notice to proceed.
Ajay, this is Ricky. In terms of the interest in the IPPA, we're looking at that bidding very keenly. We're quite interested in it because PISAL has to take into account that coal prices and oil prices have gone down phenomenally over the past 6 to 9 months, and they will have to price, we think, the asset accordingly. So there could be very interesting returns for the winner of that bid if you bid the right price and you're able to create a spread between now and the expiry of the contract in 2021.
Thank you so much for that. One last follow-up question is just on your OPEX. You have come out and actually shown a big increase on your OPEX line. Just wanted to get a sense, can we take March 2015's OPEX numbers as a more normalized level, and or should we expect any further leg up on those kind of OPEX numbers? That would be helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. With respect to the OPEX, if you look at historically, AJ, I think the experience of the company in the last 3 years is that we typically realize lower OPEX in the first quarter, no? And it increases or it ramps up as you go on quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And mainly the reason behind that is that some of the expenses are actually incurred, no, in the latter quarters. No? So I wouldn't really say that whatever is the OPEX this quarter, you just multiply it by 4. I'd put some increase, no, escalation to it as you move forward.
I think, Ajay, just to add, thematically, if you look at the second quarter of the year, that's when a lot of our taxes are due to government real property taxes. That's also the time when we, for example, renew our insurance program. That's a fairly substantial one-time expense. And then as we progress throughout the year, normally during the typhoon season, there's some expense that's associated with having to repair roads and restore minor facilities that are damaged. These are mainly on the civil works, and those are booked as OPEX by the company.
Sorry, just to clarify on that. So, given the fact we've seen a 20% increase here on OPEX, and Erwin, you mentioned right at the start that was simply because historically you've had a lower OPEX in Q1 and you've seen it increase. So has there been a little bit of a change on the accounting where you've tried to spread it out more equally? Did I understand that correctly, or it'll still continue to be backloaded, trended, and so you'd see a Q2 pickup because of the taxes due, and again, so the usual trend. So instead of just looking at Q1 multiplied by 4, I should still expect a step up through the year.
Yeah, I think it's modest. We would assume that going forward it will exhibit the same behavior as the historical trend of OPEX in the last few years. No, and again, mainly the increase for this year or for this quarter is mainly because of the depreciation of Burgos Wind, no, and some other workovers. Going forward, as Ricky mentioned, as we hit the typhoon season and as we hit the payment dues for some of the taxes and insurances, then I would assume that it will still continue with the same trend as what we've experienced in the last few years.
So in effect, the 20% increase, really 10% of that is simply because of depreciation, and so I shouldn't be too perturbed about that. I should really look at it as an ex depreciation, and in effect, it's still growing at the okay. That's useful. Thanks.
The depreciation should be flat, more or less. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, should you have any question, please press star 1 on your telephone. Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that is star 1 to register for a question. Thank you. Our next question comes from Isa Fernandez, Deutsche Bank in Philippines. Thank you.
Hi guys. Just a quick question about Burgos. Since you've already received the certification for the feed-in tariff, I was curious how you booked. I guess what tariff you booked for the first quarter, and exactly how you go about booking revenues for this plant going forward. Meaning, since you should be paid retroactively for for the feed-in tariffs starting last year, will you book all these additional cash contributions in your P&L this year? Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Aiza. No? With respect to Burgos, we've gotten FIT eligibility, confirmation last April only. So therefore, the 0.3 billion revenue that was registered by Burgos is not yet at the FIT rate. I think what we'll do going forward now, we'll have a discussion with the auditors that we have to accrue it, I think about 0.4 billion, if I'm not mistaken, of additional revenues to account for the FIT differential. So it was not, to answer your question, it was the FIT differential, was not reported in Q1 because we've gotten the advice for the collection only April. And that's something that we will adjust. I think we'll see that in the second quarter of 2015.
Thanks. Sorry, just a quick follow-up. Is the 0.4 billion FIT differential only for, I guess that's from November last year to April already? Thanks.
I think that's for Q1 only, for the 3 months.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from George Cheng, COL Financial in Philippines. Thank you.
Hi. Could you please explain again why there was an increase in the pricing for the Palimpinong Tongonan from I think the price was up 2.2%. This was despite the reduction in the tariff based on your negotiation with your customers. Thanks.
George, on that one, if you look at the selling price to the distribution utilities, i.e. the contracted, it actually went down. I think last year we were selling at 5.23 pesos per kilowatt hour. But this year we were only selling, I think it averaged at about 4.98 pesos per kilowatt hour. No?
Okay.
So it was down by about 0.25, more or less.
Yes.
25 centavos, no? But the average, no, if you compare or if you include the WSM sales as well, the blended it increased from 4.95 to 5.06, no?
Okay.
And the reason behind that is for last year we were actually selling to the spot market at a low price of about 2.83 pesos per kilowatt hour. So if you blend that together with the contracted, it actually pulled down the price.
That's 2.83.
2.83 pesos per kilowatt hour.
Yes.
That was the average selling price.
Yes.
And then for this year, 2015, we were actually trading in the spot market, and essentially we've been able to buy at a low price and then sell it at a high price. So that sort of increased the contribution or the revenue contribution for Q1 2015. That's why I think optically it's like an increase, but if you look at the contract only, there's a decrease.
Okay, I think that's very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Jay Marchandani, JP Morgan, Singapore. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, guys. Sorry, just to follow up. One was I just wanted to understand if I got this right. So given the fact that you have not booked the 0.4 billion accruals on the wind asset, would that mean your loss of 0.2 billion would technically be a profit of 0.2 billion if you had adjusted for the FIT, if I can just confirm that. And second was just regarding the NPC amount, which is effectively you have a bit of an issue there. I just wanted to know what's the status on that. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, for the first question, AJ, I think your understanding is correct. Effectively, there will be an income now for Burgos. Had we received the advice from ERC and accrue the FIT differential accordingly. And again, I just wanted to caution, and this dovetails to what Vicky mentioned, that about 70% of the revenue of a wind farm is actually between end October to sometime late Feb, early March. No? If you recall, the last time that we had a call, I think what we said is that round numbers, if we get the FIT for a full year, Burgos should generate around 3 billion of revenues and then net income of about 0.8 billion. No? But if we, because of the transmission constraint, no, assuming on a full year and we get the FIT, we expect that 3 billion to go down to round number about 2 billion. And as a result, we would recognize a net loss on an annualized basis. Okay. So I just wanted to caution everyone about it. So while it may appear that on quarter one, had we gotten the FIT differential and accrue it, we would have gotten an income. But the rest of the year, we expect with lower output from the wind farm that it would, despite the FIT differential and given the transmission line constraint, we would expect some challenges on the financials of the wind farm. And then
that's basically because of the timing issue, correct? That's basically the revenue because of the sale of power. Okay, no, fair.
That's correct. Because of the kilowatt hour generation. Yep. Which is more in the first quarter. On the second question, can you repeat that? NPC.
This is basically regarding the receivable amount that's been pending. So I just wanted to know what's the status there regarding the, if I'm not wrong, the amount was anywhere between 800 to $1 billion, if I'm not wrong in terms of amount. If I could just understand what's the exact status there.
Yeah. With respect to the amounts that NPC decided to withhold during the Typhoon Yolanda, those amounts are now subject to, without prejudice, discussions that are going on at the highest levels between ourselves and NPC. But separately, should that issue be resolved one way or the other, ultimately the proceeds are actually due and payable from the insurance company. So if NPC does pay us, we will receive the cash ahead. If they don't pay us, then we will collect from the insurance companies when we do file a claim, which we expect to do in the next month or so. And then following that, the insurance companies have the right of accession. They take over our right, and then they go after NPC for the payment. But we're now in detailed negotiations and discussions with the senior management of NPC.
When can we expect closure on that issue? Should we expect any time in 2Q or 3Q, or could you see this being potentially closed out only end of the year?
I would say that this could even drag out to the end of the year, if not a little bit beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that is star one to register for a question. Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that is star one to register for a question. Thank you. Excuse me, sir. There is no further question at this point in time. Thank you.
Actually, I have the head of our operations and engineering group, Mr. Paul Cirulo. For those of you who are still on the call and still have time, I know that there have been a lot of questions on the outage that's now present on Unit 2 of Tongonan. I'd like Paul to shed a little bit of light on Tongonan.
Sure. So the Tongonan Unit 2, which is one of our older units, it's a 1981 vintage. It experienced a forced outage on first week in March due to a high vibration trip. And upon investigation, it was found that we had a problem in the turbine, which we're presently in the process of rectifying. We expect that the unit will be back in service first week in August. It's being repaired in the Philippines. There's no need to ship it out. In addition to that, we do expect that because it was a sudden and accidental failure, that it will be, insurable event from that point of view. And we've already got a asset management program for some of our older units, such as the Tongonan units, to retrofit them In this particular case, we're using the OEM, which is MHI, to replace the steam turbine rotors and the diaphragms with 100% new. That'll take over in August of 2016 for the first unit, and follow on October with the second unit, and January of 17 with the third unit. So this was actually contemplated being one of the older plants and started last year, June timeframe, and the order was issued in January to MHI for complete retrofit of the steam turbines and significant retrofit of the generators as well. So that program was already in process when this failure occurred, but the repair will be necessary of the old unit because the timing of the implementation of the asset extension, life extension program doesn't coincide with the failure. So we will repair it, and we've already issued all the orders for the spare parts that we need. And as I said, that'll be completed first week, August.
Excuse me, sir, we do have a follow-up questions. Okay, we do have George Marston from the Green Dragon in Hong Kong. Thank you.
Hi there. I just wanted to know about Typhoon Noel and whether that had any impact on operations in Burgos.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that is star one to register for a question. Thank you. Our next question comes from Jason, FEF Securities. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. Just to follow up on Tongonan, how much do we estimate would the cost of the outage be plus the repairs?
Total cost or revenue?
Well, for the revenue, I think conservatively we're putting about 500 million, no? Until the time that we are able to put it up. There's a program already in place, so I think that amount is more or less our budget, no? As the cost for the outage. With respect to the cost to refurbish it, I think the interim solution will not cost that much, no. But the one that was mentioned by Paul, which is the retrofit from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, I think the average is around $7 million per unit, no. So total would be a little over $20 million.
Great, got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that is star one to register for a question. Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that is star one to register for a question. Thank you. Excuse me, sir, there is no further question at this point in time. Thank you.
Oh, okay. There being no other questions, we thank everybody who has dialed in and joined us for this conference call. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining to the call. Goodbye.